What if I told you that most people are not failing because they lack talent, but because they follow the same invisible pattern that has destroyed ambition for centuries? History has already proven this again and again. Empires collapsed. Geniuses were ignored. Opportunities were missed. And the shocking truth is this: most people never succeed. Not because they can't, but because they choose not to see what's right in front of them. Success is not a mystery. It is not luck. It is not reserved for a chosen few. And yet most people never reach it. If you look at history, this pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Think about it. There were people who lived during the rise of great empires, people who witnessed life-changing inventions, people who stood inches away from opportunity, but they stayed average. Why? Because success has always demanded something that most people are unwilling to give. The truth is uncomfortable. Success requires discomfort, and most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it. Look at any turning point in history, moments where everything changed. There were always two types of people. The first group saw opportunity, the second group saw risk. The first group acted, the second group hesitated. And hesitation has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Fear has always been the biggest barrier. Fear of losing, fear of being judged, fear of stepping into the unknown. And history shows us something brutal. The people who changed the world were not fearless. They just refused to let fear control their decisions. While everyone else waited for certainty, they moved forward with doubt. While everyone else looked for approval, they trusted themselves. While everyone else stayed comfortable, they chose growth. Most people never succeed because they are addicted to comfort. Comfort feels safe, but comfort is a trap. It slowly kills ambition. It weakens discipline. It makes you settle for less than you are capable of. Look at the fall of great civilizations. They didn't collapse overnight. They declined slowly. As comfort increased, discipline disappeared. As discipline disappeared, weakness took over, and eventually, everything fell apart. The same thing happens in individual lives. At first, people have dreams, big dreams, but then life gets comfortable. They find stability, they avoid risks, they stop pushing themselves, and slowly, those dreams fade away. Not because they couldn't achieve them, but because they stopped trying. Another reason most people never succeed is distraction. We live in a world where attention is constantly under attack. Endless scrolling, endless entertainment, endless noise, and every second spent distracted is a second stolen from your potential. History rewards focus. The greatest achievements were not built in comfort or distraction. They were built in silence, in discipline, in relentless focus. But most people struggle with this. They start something, they get excited, and then they quit. Not because it was impossible, but because it became difficult, and difficulty is where most people give up. Success is not about starting strong, it is about continuing when it gets hard. Consistency is boring, it is repetitive, it is uncomfortable. And that's exactly why it works. Do it. They want quick results, instant success, immediate rewards. But history shows a different story. Everything meaningful takes time, and time requires patience. But patience is rare. Another hidden reason why most people never succeed is responsibility. It is easy to blame circumstances, to blame the economy, to blame other people. But blaming gives away your power. The moment you take full responsibility, everything changes. Because now you are in control. And control is dangerous. Because it means there are no more excuses. History is full of people who started with nothing. No resources, no connections, no advantages. But they had one thing: ownership. They took responsibility for their lives, for their decisions, for their future. And that made all the difference. Most people avoid responsibility because it is heavy. It forces you to face reality. It forces you to confront your weaknesses. And that is uncomfortable. But growth only happens when you face the truth. Another powerful lesson from history is this: success always comes with sacrifice. Time, energy, comfort, relationships. Something has to be given up. But most people want success without sacrifice. They want the reward without the cost. And that's why they never achieve it. Because success is not free. It demands everything. And only a few are willing to pay the price. There's also the problem of comparison. People compare their beginning to someone else's middle. They see success, but they don't see the struggle behind it, the process. And this creates frustration, which leads to quitting. But history teaches us patience. Every great success story took years, sometimes decades. But most people quit after weeks, because they expect instant transformation. But real change is slow. It is built daily, step by step. Another truth that history reveals is this: most people follow the crowd, and the crowd is almost always wrong. The crowd seeks safety. The crowd avoids risk. The crowd stays average. And if you follow the crowd, you will end up where the crowd is, average. The people who succeed think differently. They question everything. They challenge norms. They are willing to stand alone. And standing alone is hard. It means being misunderstood. It means being doubted. It means being judged. But it also means freedom. Freedom to create your own path. Freedom to become something greater. Most people are not willing to face that isolation, so they stay where they are. Another overlooked reason is discipline. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. But discipline stays. Discipline is what keeps you going when you don't feel like it. And history proves this again and again. The people who succeeded were not always motivated, but they were disciplined. They showed up every day. They did the work. They stayed consistent, and over time, that consistency created results. Most people rely on motivation, and when it disappears, they stop. That is why they never succeed, because they depend on something that is not permanent. Finally, the biggest reason of all, most people don't truly believe they can succeed. Deep down, they doubt themselves. They limit themselves. They convince themselves that success is for others, not for them. And that belief becomes their reality, because your actions follow your beliefs. If you don't believe you can win, you won't even try. And if you don't try, you have already lost. History is not just a record of the past. It is a mirror. It shows us patterns. It shows us truths. And one of the biggest truths is this: success is available to anyone, but not everyone is willing to do what it takes. So the question is not, can you succeed? The real question is, are you willing to become the person who does? Are you willing to face discomfort, to stay disciplined, to take responsibility, to sacrifice, to stay focused, to keep going when it gets hard? Because that is the difference. That has always been the difference, and it always will be. So decide today. Will you follow the same pattern that has kept most people average, or will you break it? Because history has already shown you the outcome.